How did
Yes. Oh, that reminds me of. By the way, the neighbor upstairs looks a little bit like David Lynch. Did anyone think
That's
that?
exactly what Vuk. I never thought of it, and Vuk said, dude, that looks like David Lynch."
It's the hair,
Whenever
I
he-
think,
yeah.
and then maybe like the nose. I don't know. I see it though.
Oh yeah, I never thought of that, and now two people back to back. Like the first thing they say about him is that he looks like David.
That's
Lynch.
the first thing I thought, actually.
David Lynch is everywhere.
Mm.
He's still with us.
That's
Dude,
right.
he probably loved this movie, so he loved all the noir from this.
What
era.
if you found out he hated this movie? What would you do?
I would cry. I would actually feel really bad about that.
This is actually his least favorite movie. He thinks it's so overrated.
It would make me so sad. It would probably bum me out for like weeks on end.
That was like the last thing that he wrote. By the way, I actually hated The Third Man.
He said that The Tree of Life wasn't his cup of tea, and that kind of bummed me out for a while. So,
my guy. I'm just kidding. I've never seen him.
Well, speaking of cup of teas, we're live.
We'll do it live.
We're live.
And now that we're live,
we can do that intro.
We can do the intro. So I'll roll out the intro, and then Jimmy Jam, you can take it from there.
Okay.
After,
would you? I would like to say, take us there, Skitch.
I have led you here, for I am Spartacus.
Okay.
Okay.
Drew's like, what? All right, what?
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
You just haven't watched it 27 times enough.
Exactly.
You got to catch up, bro.
All right.
All right. Intro time. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Banter Fodder podcast. I'm your host, Drew, joined by my co-hosts Michael Hoover Dam and Jimmy Jam, the Walker, Texas Ranger Man. We do not have Vuk the Cuke here again. It's just the three of us. But that's okay because he said a really bad opinion in one of our chats tonight actually. And so,
I think I missed that.
It's in the video game chat.
It is in the video game chat.
I definitely missed that.
Yeah, you'll want to have missed it though, for sure. Anyways, though,
what did he say? Super Mario 64 is a terrible game?
I mean, basically.
Well, yeah. As important in my mind.
Yeah.
Actually,
He said something heinous about the Batman Arkham series.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I guess he said it sucked because I know you guys love it.
He didn't say that, but he basically did. So, anyways, though, we are back once again. And before we jump into the discussion of everything, gonna start out by saying, if you haven't already, follow us on your favorite platforms. Hit the like and subscribe. Leave some comments below. And join our Facebook group. And all of that is in the link tree below. Now, gentlemen, it's that time again.
Let's go.
What have you guys been watching lately? Jimmy Jam, we're going to start with you.
So, whenever Vuk was here down in the great state of Texas last weekend, after we recorded, the day after, he and I went to one of my favorite places on earth, the Texas Theater in Dallas. Shout out to the Texas Theater.
I will go there one day.
Texas,
I will go there one
yes,
day.
you will. And if you're around the area, like it's like an hour 10 from me, I make time to go. If you're around, just regularly visit their website and scroll through what they're playing. There's always something so cool that they're playing there. So anyways, one of those cool things is they're going through Kurosawa films. So Vuk and I got to go see Ikiru on the big screen. And it is a very atypical film from Kurosawa. It is not one of his It's not one of his samurai films, and it's also not one of his kind of like detective-y, noirish kind of modern dramas. It's a drama that feels pretty unique to him. It's based off of a short story from Tolstoy, and it's just about a man who finds out that he has a very short time to live, and you just watch phases that he goes through, and just how he chooses to live his like the life that he has left. I think it is incredibly beautiful. It is so good. So good. Beautifully shot. Beautifully acted. Toshiro Mifune is the actor that people always associate with Kurosawa, and for good reason. He is incredible. But Takashi Shimura is, to me, just as amazing. And he is the lead in Ikiru, and his performance is like all-time status. So it was awesome, like so cool getting to see that on the big screen. And then not a lot, only a couple after that. Last night I watched Godzilla Tokyo SOS. I am one film away from having seen every Godzilla film, and then I'll start back from the beginning and continue this loop until I die. So it wasn't that great though. You definitely feel the sense of like been there, done that by this point in the series. So, but before I watched that, a couple days before I watched that though, I watched a different film in the theater, same franchise. Watched Shin Godzilla. I love Shin Godzilla. That movie, that was one of my favorite theatrical experiences, just because I think this is one of the most incredibly shot films of this kind, or even just in general. It's so unique. As like a lifetime Godzilla fan, something that you really get used to in Godzilla is lots of meetings, lots of press conferences, lots of just men in suits sitting around tables talking. And sometimes there's a lot of charm to it, but sometimes it's like, yeah, it's just another one of these. And there's so much of that in this, but it's like folded into the themes of, like, I said in my review that it has the restraint to be political without being satirical, but I kind of don't know that I think it is satirical. It's just a really, really smart, subtle satire with moments that you like, that to me are really funny, even if I'm not laughing out loud. Like, there are so many scenes where they're in one room and the room is named in the subtitles, and it's like, giant unidentified monster discussion, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, this calls for a cabinet meeting, and everybody stands up, and it's the same group of people who sit down in like cabinet office, blah, 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 cabinet member meeting on giant. Well, like it's so funny. It is like a satire of like Japanese bureaucracy. And there's a moment where a guy is talking and he gives his title, and then somebody mentions like what he wants to be, and then the next time it shows him, it shows that new long drawn out title under the character. And like every time somebody new is introduced, you just get like, at first I was trying to keep up. I'm like, what is this guy? Who is this guy? Who is this guy? And halfway through, it finally dawned on me. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you read. The whole point is that it's funny that every time somebody's introduced, there's like a wall of text that you have to read about, like, Secretary to the Defense of Homeland National, like all of this, like
the Dwight Schrute title.
Yeah. And so like, it really is really clever and like subtly funny with that, but it balances super well with just incredible Godzilla stuff. Like, probably maybe my favorite Godzilla design and some of the best scenes of him ever. So, and it leads to one of my favorite final shots of anything ever. So that was just a joy to get to see that on the big screen for me. But that's all for me this last week.
Wow. Jim didn't have 500 movies to list off for once.
Oh, man. Wow, slacking there, buddy.
Seriously.
JK.
Michael, what's your week been like?
I can't remember. Did I mention? I'm trying to remember where I left off last week. Did I mention Freaky Friday last week?
You may have.
I don't remember.
But if not,
I think you did, because I think Vuk was like, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, either way, I rewatched that one with my wife because we both love that movie, and it's great. It really is like it I don't know. I kind of grew up with it, but it is genuinely, I think, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on names. I'm so sorry. Obviously,
Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay
Jamie Lee
Lohan,
Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Thank you. I think Jamie Lee Curtis and I think Lindsay Lohan both. I think them playing each other is genuinely hilarious and great. I think they did a great job in the movie, and it really sells it. Yeah, it's super fun. I also watched Shin Godzilla, and this was my first viewing of it, and it was a late showing and after work, so I was tired, but really, really, really liked it. I think it was again, you guys know I'm not a Godzilla super fan. I've seen several of them now, but not very many. And this was I actually didn't realize this one was this modern. I thought for some reason this was an older one, even going into it. So I had no idea it was a 2016 film. And so going in, I was like, wow, these effects are great. Obviously, I realized very quickly this is a newer movie. But I really, really enjoyed so many aspects of it. Everything James just mentioned about the Godzilla design and the take on Japanese bureaucratic process and all that. It's really, I actually really appreciated that stuff. It felt almost a little more satirical, but it felt almost like a Japanese West Wing with Godzilla, like lots of walk and talks and stuff. But really enjoyed all that. And just the sheer scale of it. It really was like there's several shots where I'm like, okay, this is genuinely terrifying. Like and it's amazing how, like, I don't know. There's some aspects to me of Godzilla that even at his creepiest looks also kind of funny, but like I felt like in this movie he looked really, really scary. In his final appearance.
All right,
in his final stage. I cannot get past the googly eye stage. It's pretty funny to me, and it's just how it is. I don't know if I'll ever get over it. It is scary, of course. If something like that was coming down the street in real life, it would be scary. But it's not on the street; it's on a screen.
That's how you gotta watch it. Though.
But it's not. But it's still a movie, and I'm watching it, and this thing that's Godzilla has googly eyes, and I'm sorry, it's funny. I did laugh a little bit, and but other than that, I think the only thing besides that, I really wouldn't have taken much off for that. I think for me, what I really want, and probably too, I know I'm like a complete Godzilla noob. I think for me, what I personally want in Godzilla movies is what -1 gives me, which is a more dramatic human story. And so I really liked the political take, but because we focused so much, and that was the point, I get it. We focused so much on that stuff that I didn't feel super connected to any of the humans. And so I think for me, I want that a little bit the other way around. And so I would prefer that. But overall, really, really enjoyed the experience. I think it's a really good movie, and I do want to watch it again. I can't wait to watch it again, genuinely. So the only other thing I have to report on, other than the movie we're watching or talking about tonight, is my wife and I watched for like the 50th time the other night Hamilton on Disney Plus. It is still so freaking good. I watched it for the first time when they released it on Disney Plus during COVID. I had always heard about Hamilton, but it was just that musical that I'm probably never going to see until Disney Plus released it. And so ever since then, I've been listening to the soundtrack, at least pretty regularly, and rewatching it a bunch of times, and I think it's perfect. I genuinely just I think it's incredible, and I don't have much to add to that other than if you haven't seen Hamilton, it does live up to that hype. Go watch it for real. Who was it? Drew? Was it you, Drew, that hasn't seen it, or was it someone else in our chat? It was Curry. Curry hasn't seen it. He needs to watch it. But yeah, anyway, that's all I have to report on, other than I'm almost done with season 7 of How I Met Your Mother. That's going real quick.
Yeah.
So,
Legend, wait for it, Dairy.
There's this one episode where Will Forte is in it. Do you remember that one, Drew? Do y'all remember that one?
Not off the top of my head.
Just watched an episode of Flight of the Conchords with Will Forte.
Oh, really? I freaking love Will Forte. I think he's so funny. And he basically is Barney Stinson's like fanboy. And he's trying to be like Barney. And he goes, it'll be legendary. Wait for it. Dairy. Like completely miss it. It's so funny. Y'all gotta watch How I Met Your Mother again if you haven't watched it in a while, or if you've never seen it. I think it holds up really good. I really do.
It does for sure. So my movie watching actually has been pretty light too, but there's a big old but there. Wait, well, I got to have 2 incredible theatrical experiences. One being Shin Godzilla with a ton of friends of the pod. Mitchie Man, Ryan from first off, Mitchie Man is actually from Casket Minds, which I co-host. You should check it out. And then also Ryan from Smashcast, Curry, and a bunch of other people. And I got to bring my girlfriend with me, and this was her first time watching Godzilla film. So what a way to start that out. But I love this. I honestly didn't know what to expect of it. I knew nothing about it other than I know a lot of people love it. And I had seen James and maybe someone else talk about like how it's shot before, but I knew not a single thing about this film. So I went into it not really knowing what to expect, and I came out of it being absolutely head over heels for it. And I think it's definitely in my top 5, probably top 3 for Godzilla films now. So I was just blown away by it. I've seen over 20 Godzilla films now. So I've had like a pretty wide spectrum of different flavors of Godzilla. And Michael, I'm definitely with you on like I prefer the more like human centric stories, or like the human drama, like the emotional kind of stories that we get out of -1. And I'd say even the original Godzilla from the 50s. But I think that this was also a really cool take, and I was fully sold on it. I think that going from a lot of these goofy Godzilla films that I've been watching lately, it felt very refreshing to see one that actually like takes itself seriously. And even though there's humor to it and there's a little bit of satire to it, it still never shies away from how serious it is. And all of the like human stuff in it felt real to me. And I think one moment that really sells how like dour this situation is of Godzilla making his way towards Tokyo is whenever we see a family trying to escape from, like in their house, and they're like just gathering their stuff together, getting the kids ready to run, and we see Godzilla walking towards a building. And then it cuts back to the camera doing like a Dutch angle, and the building starts like tilting, and then we see Godzilla. It cuts back to Godzilla, and he just walks through it. And I'm like, yeah, this is real, and it has scale, and it's terrifying. I am also a googly eye tadpole defender, so I was a fan of that. I think, like, yes, it looks goofy in some ways, but it's also
In all the
so
ways.
it's also
It
so uncanny and terrifying at the same
yeah.
time. So it really worked for me.
Yeah. If you've seen Ryan shared a GIF, if you've seen a moray eel, like like the gray little moray eels, it looks identical, like
Yeah.
slackjaw, kind of like just kind of moving its head around with these googly fixed eyes that look like. For me, there's just something about it that I'm like, you shouldn't be real. You shouldn't be moving. That shouldn't stop existing. Is how I feel. Like it's so off-putting in a very creepy way to me.
Yeah. And that's exactly how I felt about his design in the film. Um and the way it's shot is just incredible. Absolutely incredible. There's an endless amount of shots in that film where I was like, yeah, this is a real movie. It almost has like a documentary feel to it. Um, so a lot of times it just kind of like it feels like you're there with the characters. And I think that just again sold like the human side of things for me really well.
Yeah, if I could just say one thing about it, I definitely love like when these movies have really great like emotionally charged human stuff. But I don't know if I prefer things one way or the other, because one thing that I love about this is that kind of in the moment documentarian feel to it, and I almost feel like a really emotional core to it would get in the way of like the boots on the ground reality that I feel, where if it's like, but this guy's also got to survive to go home to his daughter and reconcile, or just something like that. It'd be like it'd start to feel very movie character arc ish, and there is something I really like that just sells the reality of it to me. Of like, what do you mean character arc? We're just trying to live, man. We're all trying, like it's just there's something. So I do feel like part of what I love about this is that kind of like other movies find ways of inserting that emotional core, and this movie just found a way of being like, dude, what the heck do you do when a giant freak of nature like waltzes into the city and is just like that? Well, you put together all these crazy meetings and you call all these different experts and you do all this, and I love that kind of reality to it.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of it. In a lot of ways, it reminded me of like a found footage film. It's not shot that way, but just the way that it doesn't really play like a narrative, like a standard narrative structure with like a 3 act. Um, it really just feels like we're thrown into a situation and they're trying everything possible to stop it. With no like standard narrative structure. So I was a huge fan of it. It felt completely unique to the franchise for me. um and then the other theatrical experience that I had was last night when I got to see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the big screen for the first time. That's my second time watching it, and the first time I saw that film, absolutely fell in love with it. And this was just such an incredible way to experience it. I had the best seats in the auditorium possible, and I just felt fully immersed into it. And something that my theater tends to do often, not all the time, but I feel like the sound sometimes isn't as loud as it should be.
I hate
But
that.
man, the sound was like cranked to 11 in this, because
Oh,
anytime you heard the chainsaws or you hear like the weird
oh yeah,
sound
dude,
effect,
ah.
man, I was like, ooh.
I've never
But
seen this movie. Should not surprise any of you.
honestly, I think this is one that you would be able to handle for sure. One thing that I really like about it is, a lot of slasher films tend to go overboard with the gore. And I think that's fine for some of them. I enjoy some of those movies, but Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre limit that. And honestly, Texas Chainsaw Massacre doesn't even really have that much gore at all.
Yeah,
Um,
barely any.
and some of the some of the violence that you see is shown like off screen. Like we don't even get to like see it. We can just hear it and things like that. So
that's surprising to me. Genuinely surprising to me.
yeah, you wouldn't think that, because you think that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is just this absolutely vile, gory mess of a film.
It is vile.
It is vile, but it's not gory.
Who's in it again?
Nobody
You would know.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
This isn't one of those, oh, so and so got their start.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the first one.
There are some characters in here, some actors where I'm like, man, they really should have had a great career. Yeah. Particularly Franklin, because he's the GOAT in this movie.
Sally!
And that's one thing. This movie is so like just vile at times, and so atmospheric. But I love how before we kind of get to the like tipping point where things just start going downhill, it's really funny, like actually funny. And so I don't know, it balances tone really well, and I think it just sets the stage really well. And
there's dark humor even when it does go down.
Yeah.
Look what your brother did to the door.
There's some funny lines that he says, where he's like calling one of them some really funny stuff that I won't repeat on the pod, but yeah, it's just a heck of a time. And by the end of the film, you're like, you just have to like gasp for air for a second. But I think between all of that, the way it's shot, the set design, there's some really cool editing in here too.
Yes.
The opening credits are fantastic.
Oh gosh.
James is so happy.
This is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece.
James is freaking out on the other end. So funny.
And also, so since it was a Fathom event, there was a thing at the end, and it showed a sneak peek of a documentary coming out about Texas Chainsaw Massacre called Chain Reactions, and it looks great.
Great title.
Yeah. And for part 1 of this documentary, they had what is his name? Is it Patton Oswalt? Am I getting the name right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They interviewed him because he had mentioned it, I don't know, in one of his comedy tours, or stand-up comedy tours. He talked about movie titles, and he mentions, you know what is the greatest movie title? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And
it is an incredible title.
It is. And so they bring him on and interview him, and he talks about Nosferatu and how that was like the first scary movie that he saw when he was 5, and it was for like a class in school, and he was like, why are you showing this to a bunch of 5-year-olds? But it was just really cool hearing him talk about that, and then like some films that kind of inspired the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then vice versa. And he did mention a couple of scenes in the original Nosferatu that directly inspires some scenes in Texas Chainsaw Massacre that I didn't notice before. And I was like, wow, that makes complete sense. So I was like, that's pretty fantastic. The boat scene where you see, like, you know, Nosferatu is on this ship, and you know what he's bringing with him. He kind of reversed that in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where we see one of the characters walking towards the house, and rather than we know like what's coming, like we know where she's going. So it was like a very like similar like way of like doing things. And there's some other stuff in there that's, I don't know, just really fascinating. So it was a really fun experience. Definitely recommend seeing it on the big screen if you ever can.
I've never seen it on the big screen. I'm so jealous of that. It is like,
yeah,
it is perfect to me. That like the first time I watched it, I thought it's, you know, there's Halloween, there's Friday the 13th, there's Elm Street, there's Texas Chainsaw. These are the, you know, whatever. And then this, I was like, oh gosh, no, this is not Friday the 13th at all.
Yeah.
I showed some family that, and like from the first scene with the guy, like the hitchhiker, they were like, what if we didn't watch this? I'm like, no, we're watching this.
Yeah.
What if we didn't watch this?
Yeah. The greatest opening and closing shot of any horror movie ever in my mind.
Oh yeah. They're fantastic. So yeah, that's been my watches this week. So
you know what we should watch in October? I have this entire box set here.
That is,
I got it for super cheap at the store.
I love that
store that I work at.
Michael is holding up the entire Elm Street series.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, it's super sick.
Yeah.
See, Blu-rays don't do this stuff, y'all. DVDs.
Yeah, sometimes they don't. I gotta say,
they just went further on this stuff, man. They just did. I'm sorry.
They did.
But yeah, I think it would be cool at least covering the first one on the pod.
I'm so down. And also, I love the second and the third. The third movie is.
Oh, well, let's just cover them all.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's the only slasher series where the first three make up a genuinely fantastic trilogy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed last year when we did Scream. That was super fun.
Nice.
And I think I'll probably rewatch it this year.
Yep.
Same guy?
Yeah, same
cool.
guy.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
But yeah,
that's what makes it so cool is he was like, he created one of the pillars of the genre. So he was the perfect guy to come back and like make commentary about the genre like 15 years later.
He kind of like started, or at least revolutionized some of the tropes. And then he was like, yeah, I'll do it again, but make fun of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for him. But yeah, y'all were talking about horror stuff. I was like, we should cover this. And I wanted to also show off the beautiful DVDs.
I am so down. But you know what else I'm down for? I'm down for Jimmy Jam to take over the mic. He's going to be hosting this episode. So without further ado, drum roll, please.
Great, we're going to get copyright strike now.
Welcome to Banter Fodder Podcast.
Oh, man.
Guys,
Anyways.
I am so excited to talk about this movie. I've put in the chat, I didn't even realize this. I was like, yeah, I've definitely seen it a few times. The rewatch for this makes it 6 times for me since I first watched it in 2020. And there are, we talk about like the movies, having like my top 10 is 50 movies, blah, blah, blah. But we all know that there are some movies that are just permanent fixtures of the top 10, and then there are other movies that cycle in and out. The Third Man is one of my permanent fixtures. I loved this movie so much the first time I saw it. It really helped open Noir up to me, and now I just love Noir in general. And yet, even throughout all of that, it's remained my favorite. And it's one where, I just the one viewing was the immediate 5-star, but it's also been one where on rewatches, I have just found more and more of like, oh man, that's cool. Like they're setting this up here, or I never noticed that this is kind of a theme that's running through this whole thing, or it's been such a fun movie to rewatch. So it's very clear where I stand on this movie. Truly an all-time favorite. But I am very excited to hear from y'all. Drew, you had already seen this once before, last year, right? Last year or a couple years ago.
On my letterbox, it was within the last year or two for sure.
Yeah, and then Michael, this was your like super recent first viewing.
It was not within the last year or two. It was in 2021. What the heck, man?
Whoa. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh. Dude. Interesting. Well,
the COVID years were a blur.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, it was just came and went. So I'm just excited to hear y'all's takes on this. Drewby, what I want to know what your thoughts were on the rewatch, and then we'll hear Michael's first time. Very, very fresh as of today.
Literally today.
reactions.
Yeah. So I'll preface with this. My rewatch was not the most ideal because I had to pause it several times. I wish I could have just watched it, press play, and watched it the entire time without having to pause it. But man, the opening minutes of this film, I'm already like, yeah, I remember this. It's perfect. I freaking love this movie. It really has some of the most gorgeous cinematography. If you want to bring back that Godzilla discussion, like this is one of the films that I think is the most definitive for me when I think of cinematography. There's a reason why this film is studied in school. Like it's a very scholarly film, not just in the way that it's shot and like other filmmaking aspects, but also like the writing. I think it has incredible writing. And so just every facet of this movie is fantastic. It has an instantly iconic score with that theme. The SpongeBob music. I had to bring it up at some point. That's one thing where when I was rewatching this, I was like, man, I can't stop thinking about SpongeBob. And I love the characters in this. And I've grown to become a huge fan of the noir genre. But I think to me, this is probably my favorite. And it has, I don't know, I want to say a very different feel and tone to a lot of noir films that I've had. This one, it has like a lot of seriousness to it, but it's really funny, and it at a lot of times it's kind of lighthearted, and I think the music plays into that. But then it also, you juxtapose that with what is happening in this film thematically, and I think it just that to me is what I love about it so much, is the way that it balances between tones. So I don't know, I'm a huge fan of it, and I'm pumped to talk about this.
Nice. I love hearing that.
Yeah, so I man, yeah, today was my first watch, and this one's been on my list for a long time. I'd always heard about this movie. James talks about it all the time, so it's kind of just been in the back of my mind. Like, I'm gonna watch this at some point. I know I will. In fact, I always knew we'd probably talk about it on the pod at some point. And so I was pretty excited about this. And I didn't know what to expect about it, other than like I just am expecting it to be a great film. I did not know that it's a noir, but it's also like it's in some ways a kind of a murder mystery, and I didn't know that. And I think I would have watched sooner had I known, because I'm a sucker for murder mysteries. I love them so much. But Drew, you kind of hit on it. One thing that I was really struck by was the balance of tones that this movie has. It sometimes, when you mix, comedy with serious, we were talking about it when we first started, when we first went live, the the opening part where he's talking and introducing us to the world, basically setting up the world, and he's just like, blah 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 blah, and then we see this body laying on like floating in the lake or river or whatever it is, while the tone of it was also like kind of happy.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, it's kind of hard to make your way in Vienna, though. Not everybody's got it. Not everybody's cut out for it, but blah, blah, blah. And he just like,
there's this body floating there, and
floating
you're like,
in the river,
with this super happy major chord music like happening, and I'm like, what am I supposed to feel right now? This is hilarious, but should I be laughing? Like it is really the balance that they strike really is really interesting. And there's points in this movie that are like really dark, And the contrast between that tone with the music, it's really unique because so many other movies would have, and honestly, like I probably would have even loved it if if this movie would have done what other movies did, which is like a really, more sinister, somber score at that moment or whatever. But I think something that makes this movie stand out is that it has this like the porter is murdered, and then his grandson is down in the street just yelling, looking for his papa. That's super freaking sad. Like that was so sad to me. And then, but the overall tone of the scene is not that scary, and it's not that sad. It is like kind of weirdly, again, like I feel like it had some happy feeling music, and so it's kind of weird.
Because the kid's not really sad looking. He's just pointing at the kid or pointing at the guy. Like,
right, the kid's not sad because he doesn't know what's going on. That's why it's sad to me. Like as an adult watching it, I know what's going on, and he's about to find out pretty soon. But he doesn't know yet. So I know this, but the film feels like weird. And I'm saying all this as a compliment, by the way. This is not a bad thing. This is great. It is such an odd like juxtaposition, but it really freaking works in this movie. It really sets it apart from what a lot of other movies would do. And I just love that. I think it was the way that they did it was with a deft hand. And I think it was well done. And I can't wait to rewatch again. Even tonight talking about it, I usually need 2 times to watch movies to like remember details. So I am excited to talk about it with you guys, but even just thinking now about the details in the movie, it's hard for me, but I do know that like, as I, about that first 30 minutes, I was in because it was entertaining and I enjoyed the banter between the characters. I enjoy the dialogue. I love the banter between our main guy and the cop, and all that. I think it was really funny. Like the cop punch the other guy punching his face is like, but he's like a huge fan of his as a writer.
As he helps him up, I love your work. So.
I love your work. I thought that was like genuinely so freaking
By the
funny.
way, Payne, that is M in all the Connery Bonds.
Okay.
Wait, which one is Payne? Sorry.
The sergeant, the guy who's the big fan.
That's M in all the Bonds?
Yeah.
In all the
Wow.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's funny. I need to oh man, that's funny. I need to go back to the Bonds, honestly. But yeah, I really enjoyed all that. And then when it gets to the when I feel like the last bit of the movie, it was almost a different movie, but it was literally like basically when they go underground into the sewers. That was a whole different movie, but like obviously it still felt like the same movie in some ways, but it was just like, I don't know. The way that the film started, I never would have thought that it would have ended in the place that it did. And I was just on the edge of my seat and literally shot after shot after shot. I think I texted y'all earlier. I was like, this last 20 or 30 minutes of this movie is literally like a highlight reel of some of the best shots I've ever seen, like in movies at all. Like it's incredible. And I don't know. There's something about obviously whoever the person directing this one, is it Carol Reed?
Carol Reed, yeah.
Obviously knows what he's doing, but also, I don't know. There's something about I love when black and white movies look like just are shot like this. Like I don't know. There's something about in modern day movies. I feel like it's like whenever a movie looks good, I almost feel like sometimes like, well, it should look good. we have all of the technology to make films look good. That's the bare minimum right now. Like it should look good. But when like movies. This was made in 1949. Like you have to get creative with lighting and like all this stuff to make a movie look like this, and just everything about it, like just the sets and the wet streets and the the lighting on the streets and underground. It just is beautiful. So I can't wait to talk more about it. But basically, yes, I freaking love this movie. I don't know that I'll be able to think of something I didn't like about it. I genuinely don't know that I have one. So we'll see as we're talking. Maybe I'll remember something. But I don't know. I loved it, man, and I'm glad I loved it because I didn't want to disappoint you.
Yeah, I am so glad that you loved it too. To me, it's a movie that's great enough to where I'm like, surely they're gonna like it. But I was just really hoping that it would really work for y'all. Yeah. So one of the things that really stood out in both of y'all's comments is the tone of it, and yeah, this is a really interesting one. It is really funny and it moves at such a clip. Like it's just you're always thrust into the next plot point. And something that kind of sticks out to me is that there is a kind of story of an everyman character thrown into an adventure, who he's thrown into a plot, and there's romance and intrigue in all of this. It's a genre that like Hitchcock perfected. We were talking about Rear Window with a friend who really loved it, but who thought that the ending was kind of setting up something more subversive than it was, where it turns out, oh no, it is kind of conventional and they do get together and everything works out. And I'm like, yeah, because I think that's kind of what Hitchcock did, is he took the kind of the daydreamy, like, what if I, met a beautiful woman and went on an adventure and, uncovered a plot and did all of this. And he just plays that straight. And there's an element of that here, of the everyman who gets caught up in everything. But the story doesn't quite work out that way for him, like down to the final shot, which I think is an all-time final shot. So good. Where like, you can tell he's kind of wanting this story to be that for him, where he's like, like, I'm just a sad guy who falls in love with girls and blah blah blah. Like he is this hopeless romantic who's I'm gonna go on this adventure and then come out the other side, at least like finding romance and all of this. And it's like he's in a worse position at the end of it than he was at the beginning, because now his friend is dead and was also terrible, and all of this. So I think that's kind of like, I don't know, that's a funny thing about it to me, where it's like it's not like it's a depressing version of that like adventure romance movie, but it does kind of like, whenever the one character it has to like really follow through on that just walks away at the end. But even still, like all throughout, like I was saying, there's a lot of seriousness to it, and there's a lot of comedy, and it's not like it's pausing to be like serious now, funny now, serious now. It's like they're just always intertwined so often. Like one of my favorite lines,
cells within cells interlinked.
Exactly, they're all interlinked. But like one of the lines, I just had it here. I basically remember it. It's the one where the person who wants. Oh wait, no, here it is. Yeah, it's whenever Holly says, "I was going to stay with my friend, but he died Thursday," and Kravitz just, "Oh goodness, that's awkward."
Yes.
And I was like, "Is that what you say to people after death? Goodness, that's awkward." So like, there's moments like that are just like, it's about the death, or whenever like the porter is trying to say, he keeps saying the same thing, and but he can't say it in English, and so he gets Anna. He's like, "Can you translate?" And he says it again, and she's like, "He says he was quite dead." Oh, that's it, quite dead. He was quite dead. There's just, it's like all of like the death and drama and comedy is so often just like swirling around in the same dialogue, and I really really love that. And I don't think that it's like a dark comedy in the sense of like you can't take the darkness or the drama seriously. It is serious and also happens to be really funny at the same time, and it's all the better for it.
Yeah. And I think honestly, you know, with this being like an early post-war film, it kind of makes sense for it to be like that, in my opinion. I think like that could have been a very conscious decision while working on this film. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could definitely see them being like, hey, you know, what if we don't make this super depressing and we add some humor to it? We add like a bit of fun to this, even though we're still like dealing with death and this like murder mystery plot, but well, let's have some fun with it because we just went through something terrible. And I mean, like even in the film, you see like you see debris from the war, and it adds like so much realness to what this film is. So I don't know. I to me, it felt like a very conscious decision of like having it be like this tonally.
But not in like an escapist way to me. Not in a like we've just been through a lot, so let's turn our brains off and get it. Because like you said, we are seeing cities in ruin, and like I mean the context for it is depressing, but gosh, it makes for incredible like visuals.
It does. And even I mean with what's her name?
Miss Schmidt, Anna.
Yeah, Anna. Her character, the whole like subplot with her passport, like that's a very real thing that people were facing during that time. So it never shies away from like the gravity of I think what's happening in the film, but also just what was happening like in the world around that area. So like I don't know. I really appreciate how well balanced the tone is in this film because it is funny, but it's also serious at the same time.
Yeah, it was in like, yeah, we have these funny moments too, but we also have, like y'all said, the literally like the rubble of these buildings is in the background, but people are just walking around like it's normal days, like it's almost like they're used to it. And it didn't really resonate with me like what I was watching it, but y'all are talking about it and I'm watching the movie silently while we're talking about it. And it's like, man, yeah, people are just it's so sad that that this was just life back then, like at that time. Yet, yeah, here we are with this movie that it definitely does not shy away from like the serious and dark things, but it's also quite comedic. And it kind of reminds me, I always bring up, y'all might even know what movie I'm about to bring up, but I feel like the movie that strikes that balance perfectly is The Empire Strikes Back. It literally is just it's funny not because it's a bit. It's funny because these are funny. Like it's like this perfect blend of they're not telling jokes. They're just conversationally funny, and like they're getting into stuff that's funny, and but that movie is the most serious of all Star Wars movies, maybe with the exception of Rogue One. And it is, but I still think that might be the funniest at times of all Star Wars movies. And it's not because it's got the most jokes. It literally is just because it's embedded into the dialogue. And that's how this one is. And that's one of my favorite things when movies can straddle that line really, really well.
Yeah, it's so, and like the humor, just like in Empire, like you're saying, the humor is just embedded in the dialogue, and completely grounded in the characters. Like there sometimes in a lot of modern films that are going to be comedic, there's a neutral tone to a lot of the humor, in that you can kind of pluck jokes out of some characters' mouths and insert it in other characters' mouths, and it kind of still works, because it's more like, this would be a funny line rather than this makes sense for this character to say. Like they do kind of feel like writer's room jokes. Whereas this
MCU.
is do it.
I said MCU.
Sometimes, yeah. There are definitely times where it does feel like you can pull quips. I think people like Tony and Cap, most of the time, there are those heroes that like people know how to write for, and then there are others where it's like, oh yeah, it's just anybody could have said that line. But like here, the humor is completely grounded in the characters and the context and the situation, and I love all the back and forth between Holly, Payne, and Calloway, and like there's just the line, Calloway keeps trying to get Holly away from things, like, but like if you keep this up, somebody's bound to get murdered again, and you were born to be murdered. I love that line.
Mm-hmm.
You were born to be murdered.
Yeah, there's
That's
just
so good.
So many like really funny back and forth, and it's all about context. And something else also, and this kind of is on the same train of thought of just the balance of tone and humor and drama and story and all of this, is I also feel like the humor is used in just in the movie's own like theme. Like there's one thing that's kind of stuck out to me, especially on rewatches, where you just, at least for me, I'm like, the more I watch, the more I'm like, that never really stuck out to me on my first or second watch. But now that I watch it again, I just hear the lines. It seems super intentional, where it feels like name and identity and nationality, obviously nationality, are like huge themes of the film. And they're it's kind of relayed through a lot of comedic lines. Like the general premise is set, from that incredible opening monologue of this guy describing this post-war Vienna and this quadrant of, you've got the Russians, you've got the Americans, you've got the French, you've got all of these people, and this place where it's just, you've got all of these languages and cultures mixing, and it's like, it's a pressure cooker, really, and so, but the way the movie gets at that, like just that idea of, you've got all of these different people from like who are rooted in different nations. The way it gets at that a lot of time is just the amount of times people get names wrong in it in really funny ways. Even within the UK, you still having that where he calls them, oh, Callahan, Calloway, I'm English, not Irish.
Mm-hmm.
Like that line, or he keeps calling Mr. Winkle, and then the long pause, Winkle. Like you're getting all of these characters pronouncing names wrong, getting names wrong, and then that idea of name also works into like just the idea, like the theme of identity and who we are. Like there's a lot of really great dialogue that stands out more and more on rewatches when they're talking about like what it means to know a person. Whenever like Anna says to Holly, like, oh, please, for heaven's sake, stop making him in your image. Harry was real. He wasn't just your friend and my lover. He was Harry. A person doesn't change just because you find out more. And Holly, and the movie pokes fun at Holly's name all the time, where she says that's a silly name, and then Calloway's like, Holly, do the sensible thing, and he's like, I haven't got a sensible name, Calloway. She calls Holly Harry, a few times throughout, and then there's just that idea of Harry buries a different man in his own grave, and like so this idea of like it. I haven't really got the words settled for it yet, but it feels like this idea of name and identity and all of this feels like there's something a lot more thoughtful than just this really fun surface level, like, oh, who done it kind of thing. It's saying a lot about this place and time and what people were having to deal with and whatnot. So a lot of that, I think the fact that it can get to a lot of that through the use of humor, to me, is just really incredible writing.
Yeah, and honestly, shout out to Vuk for setting us up with our Breakfast at Tiffany's discussion, because I feel like there's a lot of commonality between these two films, both in theme and then also just the way that it balances tone. Because like we talked about with Breakfast at Tiffany's, you know, yeah, it's a comedy, like it's a rom-com basically, but there's so much under the surface to uncover. And the same thing goes with this film. Like, it is a noir, it is a whodunit, but man, there's a lot to uncover under the surface. Just like uncovering the plot. So I don't know, like I think that's what like really gets me with this film and why it stands out to me more than some other noir films that I've seen. It's because it is so many things at once, and it is a genre film, but it is so much more than that. Like it just reminds me of, you know, some of my favorite films that are within like a specific genre. Like if you look at Jaws, that movie is a genre film through and through, and it's a blockbuster. But once you look past that, there's so much under the surface. So I don't know. I'm just floored by how much, like, even in our discussion right now, there's like things that I wasn't even like picking up on, but I only know that it's just going to get better and better the more I rewatch it.
Would you say that this film has everything?
It has it all.
This film's got it all.
It
even
really
has
does.
the SpongeBob soundtrack.
Exactly. All of it.
Welcome to Bikini Bottom.
One eternity later in the French section.
Exactly.
I love too that this film didn't have like it whenever, you know, we're dropped right into this world with this American, and when the American is talking to these people who are speaking a multitude of languages around him, he's always lost. He doesn't know what they're saying, and neither do we. They did not tell us what they're saying. So we're having to like try to figure it out through context clues, just like he's trying to do, or just be completely lost just like he is. And I love that they didn't. I love it when movies don't always put subtitles when someone is speaking a foreign language.
Yeah.
Like when it, like, to me, that this used it so perfectly, because he's like, we're trying to be in his shoes, and we are like, he is just he's in another land, doesn't know anybody, and he doesn't know the languages that are being spoken there, and he's trying to solve this mystery. It's basically hopeless. It's a hopeless endeavor, really, and we're just lost right there with him. And a lot of the time, and there are sometimes you can kind of pick up context clues, and he does, but there's a lot of times where he's just like, hey, I don't speak English. I mean, or no, I don't speak German or whatever.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love it when movies do that really well, and it's a really effective thing to me.
Yeah, I fully agree. And something that I love about this film is how I feel like this just can go for films even today, but a lot of like classic films, when you have characters who, you know, are from another country, who speak another language, if they do like speak in English, or if they're speaking in another language, like you don't buy it. Like, you're like, no, you're not actually speaking that. But in this film, like, they're actually legitimately speaking German. And when
Click on
there's
any of these people in Letterboxd and just German films pop up.
Yep. Like even their accents when they're speaking English, like it, it, I really buy into the realism of that. I buy into these performances, and then it just makes that element of Holly not understanding what everybody is saying all the better, because it's like, well, if you don't speak German, like and you're like watching this, but you can tell like, oh, they're actually speaking German. It's not like, oh, they're trying to speak German. And I just don't see that very often in a lot of movies, especially with like how many characters are speaking other languages in this.
That's something also that this movie does really well, that it manages to feel both like really on the ground realism of like, you know, these aren't sets, these are real locations. You know, these are real, this is real debris, these are real Germans, these are real you know, Czechoslovakians, these are real, there's a reality to it. And yet it never at all comes at the cost of just huge amounts of style. So to feel so tangible and real and like, oh, this is just a, we're thrown into this real craziness, while also being like, but this is also like capital M movie magic at the same time, is super super cool. So yeah. We've mentioned the characters. I really want to highlight some of the performances. I think Joseph Cotton as Holly makes for just a super likable kind of everyman. He's somebody that I didn't really see until I watched this, and then I watched a bunch of stuff with him after. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this guy. He's like the best friend from Citizen Kane. So you get him and Orson Welles in another movie.
He's also in Touch of Evil, and I think a few other Orson Welles films.
He's in Touch of Evil.
Yeah,
I don't remember him.
I think he was like a side character in Touch of Evil, if I'm not mistaken.
By the way, I cannot believe that Orson Welles is the same human being. He looks charming as F in this movie. And he looks not that way at all in Touch of Evil. I just can't believe it's the same human. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that really it shows his kind of, this sounds weird, but it shows his humility when it comes to art. Of like, to him, he is subservient to the art that he's making. So like, whenever he's
an
making
art vessel.
exactly. But when he's making this, he's like, yes, I know I've gotten like bigger and I do not look like what I looked before. So I'm not going to try to like shine myself up and polish it. Like, I am going to make myself look disgusting. I'm not going to, like, it works for this story for me to just be this oaf, you know, this ogre. And I think for him to have gone from the appearance of, you know, Third Man and Citizen Kane to be like, what do you like? I don't care about my body image. I'm not like some sort of, you know, they're not going to keep putting me on Vogue. I'm going to do what needs to be done for the film. I love that.
Yeah, me too. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail. I just wanted to say, I could not believe. And in fact, I feel like somebody mentioned when we talked about Touch of Evil in our Touch of Evil episode. You guys should go back and listen to it. I feel like someone mentioned how different he looks in that movie compared to this one specifically.
Yeah.
And I was happy to finally see. But yeah, he was great in this too.
Yeah, I definitely want to get to him.
Of course.
But just as far as like our pre-reveal, because Harry, I always forget how long it takes for Harry to be revealed.
Oh yeah.
I do still I love our like primary cast of Joseph Cotton and Alida Valli as Anna Schmidt, and Trevor Howard as Major Calloway. I love Major Calloway.
Yeah, Major
And,
Calloway
loved him.
great.
and Sergeant Payne, Bernard Lee as Sergeant Payne. Like those two are just, I love them.
Oh, rest in peace, too. Major Payne. Whatever. Sergeant Payne. That's a different person.
Yeah. There's Sergeant Payne has a lot cracks me up. It's whenever Krabbins is telling him, he's like, oh yes, we put on all sorts of different I need to find it. I should have had all of these quotes ready. It was whenever Krabbins like, oh, we do a little show each week. Last week we had Hamlet. The week before we had something, and Sergeant Payne's like, the striptease, sir. I was like, oh yes, the Hindu dances. Just all of the little banter that Payne and Calloway are involved in just cracks me up.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of characters and Holly's character, I'm noticing another connection, or I made another connection with this and Breakfast at Tiffany's. But both of those films have male leads, the lead character, who are like kind of these washed out writers. Because we get that setup at the beginning of the film where, like Holly, it's not that he's like, just some writer that's necessarily been forgotten about, because like obviously Payne was like a fan and stuff, but there's like
he writes like lowbrow kind of, like he even says I write cheap novelettes,
yeah. So there's like this sense of like, some people don't know who he is, and then he makes a point that he's just like broke, and he didn't even get his own plane ticket, and so it really feels like he is just going on this trip because he does want to go on an adventure, and I think it like plays into some dialogue that he has later on with Anna, where he's talking about Harry, and because she's like, I want you to just tell me anything about him. Tell me a story. And he's like, there's not really much to say, but, Harry, he made everything fun. And so I feel like there's something to Holly's character where he really feels like he's missing something. There's something missing from his life. And I think that's like part of why he takes the trip. And I think that's something that makes his character really interesting to me. He's not just, an everyman who doesn't have much to his character, but there is a lot to him. And I think that's where a lot of his humor comes from too. So I think he's a fantastic lead.
Yeah, one of our friends, Keith, his review of the film on Letterboxd is just stunningly mature, and I feel like that applies to the character writing, which is something that, again, just like every time you rewatch it, there's an increased familiarity that comes with rewatches. Which is why people need to rewatch movies.
Mm-hmm.
You just
preach it.
You start like that's. The familiarity is where little details come to life, and it's where like good movie characters become real people. And I think there really is an incredible maturity to the character writers. What's really funny is, so this movie was written, the screenplay was written by Graham Greene, who he wrote this. He's a novelist who wrote this as a novella because he's like, I don't know how to write a screenplay, so I got to write it as a novel and then translate the novel to a screenplay because I can't write one from scratch, because he wanted to make a movie. Also, if you've seen the 2049 shorts, whenever Dave Bautista's character holds up that book, The Power and the Glory, that's also from Graham Greene, and it is phenomenal. So Graham Greene himself, it's funny that he's writing somebody who wrote like cheap novelettes, because he is just one of the most incredible authors ever. But I bring that up to say, like, I really do think you can feel like the maturity in just what the characters are feeling and how they're expressing it, and how you can learn about them by what they're not expressing, and by how, like, I think Hawley, part of what makes him as such a great lead is he is like maybe my favorite hopeless romantic in a film of, like Drew said, he's a person whose life was given a certain amount of meaning from Harry. You know, he had this boring life, and Harry just made things fun. And what do you do whenever that source of fun that he knew him for 20 years? Like, what do you do whenever the rug is pulled out from under you and you find out he's a horrible human being? You know, he goes off and he gets drunk and he goes and he visits a girl. You know, he's like, I need something. And then I love just their dialogue, like the differences in how they both react to it. That's where you get the great dialogue from her of like, a person doesn't change just because you learn more about them. And, you know, stop making him in your image. He was real. And then you make it sound as if he, you know, sold cigarettes on the street or whatever he says. Just hearing them talk back, like process what it means to find out all of these things about someone you loved. And I really love how their paths diverge with that information, and that Holly's just not able to accept it, you know, in a good way of like, it's not that he changed, it's just I found out his true colors and I liked the facade more than I liked the man. And her love for the man runs so deep that it runs right on through the horrible reality of him. And so just seeing the way that they react to this, I think she is such a like smartly written like character. So I think there's a lot of really great stuff back and forth between them.
Sorry, go ahead.
This is just going to be a really quick thing. And I feel like the hopeless romantic kind of character can sometimes be like frustrating to watch if they're not written well. They can feel, I don't know, like desperate, or like they're constantly in a rut because they're like, well, I'm a hopeless romantic and like I literally am hopeless. But I don't get that feeling from Hawley at all. And so it just makes that aspect of his character a lot more enjoyable to watch for me.
Yeah. And even like, to me, the standout scene for him was also a standout scene for Orson Welles, but it's the scene in the Ferris wheel. Oh. I almost said merry-go-round. That scene would have been hilarious in a merry-go-round. I can't stop picturing it. It's really funny. But the scene in the Ferris wheel, where, you know, even so they're having this conversation, and really to that point, if I'm remembering correctly, I could be mixing up timelines here, but if I remember correctly, to that point, we didn't know for sure, like, it hadn't been made crystal clear that Harry was, you know, who the cops said he was, or whether he was more like Hawley said he was. And at that point, the line is drawn in the sand. We now find out where Harry's priorities are. And, you know, he's basically like, what did he say? He says, look down there. Tell me, would you really feel pity if any one of those dots stopped moving forever? If I offered you 20,000 pounds for every dot that stopped, would you really, old man, tell me to keep my money, or would you calculate how many dots you could afford to spare? And so like basically those dots are just a way to make money, and basically his humanity, the human that Holly used to know, this is a different person. Like that, his humanity is gone at this point. And like he even brings Anna into the conversation and is like, what about Anna? And the guy could not care less.
I don't
Like
care.
yeah, whatever, she's fine. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but it's basically like, I don't care. Like that's the long and short of it. And at that moment, I love the character reveal of him we'll talk about it, I'm sure, more, but like the character reveal, we still don't know. Like we still think, ooh, like, I don't know, like, wow, he's alive. Cool. But then really shortly after that in the Ferris wheel scene, we realize like, wow, this is bad. And but juxtaposed with Holly, like just I loved the performance. I'm sorry, I'm not going to remember the actor's name, but the performance that he gives in that scene next to Orson Welles, and the line is drawn between the two of them at that point, and then, gosh, man, at the end of the movie, when like I honestly thought we were gonna do and I'm really glad they didn't, but I thought we were gonna do the I'll let you go for our past history, but then you're on your own kind of a deal. Like we've seen in so many movies before, and honestly, so many movies do it well. Like, and it's the right ending or whatever, the right move. That would have been the wrong ending for this movie, and I'm so glad that it, like, because the way that it was looking to me was like that was going to happen, and for him to make that decision to do that, it was just like super powerful, and I loved that choice so much more. I'm so glad he didn't let him go. I was gonna be really annoyed at that, but no, it was because, and I also loved like what kind of stirred him to do that was him killing Payne. Like okay, got to finish this, and it happened. By the way, too, that shot of him, like his fingers through the grate.
Yes. Oh,
like, oh, my fingers are free. At least just my fingers. Oh, what a shot! It's so good.
That.
But just one of the many frames of this film that are perfect. But the character choice for Holly there, I think, is just perfect.
Yeah. Real quick, I just wanted to say it's not really like a thought, but I'm really glad you brought up that line, because that was one of the lines that I had in my notes where I was like, this is one of like the most pivotal moments in the film for me. And the way the line is delivered, the fact that they're in the Ferris wheel, it's just, I don't know, pure cinema.
Yeah. And his performance, man, would you really tell me, old man? Like, he's so good. But dude, their shot on the staircase, the movie starts to like reach for and grasp something that's pulling it out of great noir film, where, because it's, and you'd even mentioned like the last 20 minutes start to feel a little different, very intentionally, because there's no music in the chase scene. And that is such a clear choice to me, because music has been so integral to the movie's identity from the opening credits. We're zoomed in. So the fact that we're zoomed in on the Zither or how, just as it plays over the credits.
Freaking love that, by the way. Yeah, I love that so much.
It's such a cool opening. And so it's been so important. It's such a clear choice to completely pull it out from your climactic chase. And what we get instead is just all of the splashes of the feet in the water, all of the echo, all of like the sound design fills the presence of like the score. And then that stare, there's this weird scene where they start to play, like it feels way too much of a modern choice, but I know it was a choice that they made, where they start playing this weird kind of like rising sound as he's climbing up the stairs. It does not feel like a 40s sound choice. Um, and then the moment that you mentioned where his fingers stick out and they are just highlighting the sound of the wind so much that you can like feel the wind through your own fingers. You just for that and like the grating all kind of looking like their own bars. I just love that image of like so close.
Yeah.
I can feel the free world at my
Yep.
fingertips, and I'm behind this trap. This and the sewers was a salvation before, and now it's like it's the thing that keeps him trapped. It's so good, and yeah, I love that Holly pulls the trigger. I know that other movies might be like no because of the history thing and blah blah blah, but I love that I love that he gets to walk out of the fog like the lone
Come
gunman
on.
in his novelettes and
Come on.
everything.
Yeah.
But
Well, and
really
he did
did.
that too, knowing that what it would cost him. It cost him not only like he just killed the person that he called friends for 2 decades, like his best friend for 2 decades. Not only that, but he knew it was going to cost him anything with Anna.
Mhm.
yeah,
And so that was also just a hero's decision, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. And it oh man, I lost my train of thought. Heck. So you know what? No, never mind. James, go ahead and take it over. I had something sick.
You'll get it back. You'll get it back.
Yeah, it'll come back.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Yeah, I also like I love the surface level of this. I think it's just such a fun plot, but I do think that this movie has its moral head placed squarely on its shoulders. I think this is a very morally mature movie
Mhm.
where, Anna has her moment of, if you want to put him behind bars, I'm not going to pay the price or blah, blah, blah. And, like they look at your face, they've got a name for that kind of face. And, that's where she leaves off. And so at that point, Holly is like, yeah, I'm not gonna, whenever, Calloway is like, either way he'll hang, and he's like, yes, but I'm not going to be the one to pull to whatever he says, to pull the rope or cut the rope or whatever. And so he's had it. Another scene where I'm like, this is taking this to another level of seriousness is whenever Calloway plays, his last card, and he's like, I've got a last trip I've got to make, and just taking the seriousness and the gravity of Lime's crimes beyond an abstract, and just the shot of them filling the basket with the toy bunny and all of the things, and the implication that this was a lost child. And just Holly having to walk through all of those cribs and look at that. I love the shot of them in the car afterwards where Calloway is still trying to play diplomatic of like, I think I may read one of your books, blah, blah, blah. And Holly is just 30,000, like, the just this stare of like, he's not listening.
Yeah.
He can't escape it anymore. So I do love that the movie, like as funny and fun and adventurous as it is, there is this just sense of moral weight to the crimes and to this kind of thinking, this idea of how to make it in this new post. Like you've got the line from the one German, I forget his name, but the guy with the almost the most sinister smile ever, the guy with the dog.
The guy that I did not trust from the get-go. He's the
you
easiest to
trust
not
him.
trust.
But whenever he's like, I have done things that I would have thought unthinkable before the war. And he's just talking about like, I've sold a carton of cigarettes for blah, blah, blah. But there is this idea of, post like morality post-war has just changed, and all of this. And for Holly to see that and to be like, no, this is unlivable. This is heinous. I just thought it was just super, super strong.
Yeah, for sure. I think the thing that I was gonna say about Holly, it would have felt like so much of a cop out to me if he had let Harry get away. Because as we were talking about before, well, when we see like Harry's true colors in the Ferris wheel, uh, that kind of just sets in stone to me. Like Holly can't accept that, and that's why he ultimately, ends up setting Harry up basically, um, to get captured or by the police. So I think that it would have taken all of the weight away for me. And I feel like I would have hated I would have hated Holly's character if he let Harry get away.
Yeah.
Because he had gone to like levels of like no, like there's no point of return. Um and in a lot of ways I feel like the missing the missing piece that he had in himself, where he thought like, in some ways like maybe Harry was like a part of that. um in a lot of ways this is a way for him to actually like bury that aspect of himself and no longer have to like carry that weight of like feeling like he's missing something. um and I think that, he also he he still gets like one heck of an adventure taking that trip.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's got a lot of crazy stories to write after that.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be good for him in the long run.
Yeah.
But I love the ending. There's like a funny and fun tragedy to Holly of like that just after everything. And I love mirroring the opening and closing funerals, like down to recreating the shot of the car driving past Anna and the camera, panning to look at her and all of that. And that's when you get the line of Calloway being like, be sensible. And he's like, I haven't got a sensible name, Calloway. And he hops out of the car and he waits for their just this after everything. He's like, frick it, one more shot. And the poor guy just doesn't work out even after everything. And it's that, lighting the cigarette and flinging the match and cut to black. I'm like, oh gosh, iconic. So iconic.
That I love the long take there at the end. Just letting the camera sit while he's smoking the cigarette for like, I don't know, like what felt like close to 5 minutes. Honestly, it was a long while. Just so good.
Yeah. And I love last week with Breakfast at Tiffany's, I said, I love that this movie could have done one of the things where, they subvert what a rom-com would normally do, and they would give us like a really sad ending here instead of happy. But I love that they brought it all together and they ended up together, blah blah blah. I love that. I loved that this one did the opposite. I love that it was like, personally, them getting together after everything that just happened actually doesn't make any sense. So I actually really love that she just literally didn't even look at him. Like she just walked right by.
But that choice is
what a choice. And then the, like you said, Drew, the long take of him just sitting there smoking, like, okay, yeah, so this is really, this is it. I freaking love the choice of them not getting together. I felt it would have felt too neat, and it would have taken some of the weight of what he had done, of the choices that he had to make for good reason. It would have taken some of that weight away, and it wouldn't have made a ton of sense, because I don't feel like we saw turnaround in her character enough to appreciate what he did. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
and I also
feel like it
think
would have made
that
sense.
there was it was one of those things of like, it would have never worked out regardless. I think, because she was too like stuck in the past of like being in love with Harry, and like not really being able to let that go, even though she has the line of dialogue saying like, you know what, like I don't care about him anymore. But then she's like, but he's still a part of me. And also like I feel like there's never really any moments in the film where you like get this like chemistry or you get this like kind of like romance building between the two of them. So it would have just felt like this thing of like, whoa, that was out of nowhere. There's a siren in the background, so hopefully it doesn't get picked up by the mic.
I don't hear anything.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't hear anything either.
But yeah, I would have not liked the ending if they went for that. Even though I really love both of the characters, but I just didn't want to see them get together in the end.
Yeah. And what's funny is, so in the novella that Green wrote to like base the screenplay off of, there is a happy ending, and they do walk away together. And part of that was he just felt like, well, this is how these things are supposed to end.
Sure.
You know, right? Like, especially with the idea of it being a film in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And working with Carol Reed was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Like, the whole point is there's a quote from him being like, the whole point is she has this fatal love. Like, it does not make sense for her to then walk off with him, especially after their paths diverge that way. So, and Green later came to be like, oh yeah, Carol Reed was on the money, but Reed insisted down to, and I think Graham was trying to be very like mindful of like, well, in film, would this work? Like, do y'all do this? Where he was also like, I think this one take is a little excessive, right? And Reed was like, no, it needs this. We have to wait with him. We have to wait and wonder with him.
Mm-hmm.
And gosh, it just makes for the most perfect ending to me. It's just the framing of it, like the shot of him leaning on the car with the lone girl at the end of the road and the trees making the art. It's just,
That's so good.
Yep.
Oh, I love it.
Also, this is like unrelated, but I love how like the last, I don't know, 20 minutes of the film basically is just one long chase scene in the sewers.
Yeah.
I was like, because I didn't
Dude.
remember it like spending that much time down there. But I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
This just doesn't, like, you don't do this.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, it's not even a set either. Like, they actually just went down there and shot the film, which is crazy. Man.
And they are the most beautiful sewers I've ever seen.
Seriously.
Just point a camera anywhere down there.
Seriously, gosh, it's like shot after shot. I loved how you could tell that you could just kind of get the sense that Harry knows the sewers really well. Like the whole chase, like we're following him and he clearly has like a good idea where he's going, and everyone's just like, oh, let's try this way, and he's just like, I know a shortcut. But that point where he reaches like, okay, I have gone as far as I can go, I have nowhere to go, and he hears voices coming from this entrance and this entrance and this entrance, and what a moment where it's just literally like, this is it. This, like, he is backed into a corner finally, and but that moment was just so well done. The sound design of it, the visuals of it, the acting, everything, it just came together.
Yeah. Seeing all of the police like entering the sewers from like different places. Like the whole city was going after him.
Like there's almost no dialogue. There's like a couple lines there at the very end when like the characters begin talking again, but there's just so much of this that's completely just sounds of like feet rushing, and when you hear the shouts, he's hearing the voices, but you're not really getting dialogue and lines and stuff. And yet I still think that his performance is fantastic through that, because Harry's been presented as the most cool and confident character imaginable. I loved it whenever I showed this to Vuk when he was down, and like just the big giggle he had at the reveal of Harry when it pushes it, which is my personal favorite character reveal shot ever.
It's dude, it's so badass.
When that
is.
light shines on him and you get that quick zoom into that most
And he
boyish
starts
grin.
grinning. Oh man.
Gosh, it's so good.
Yeah.
And Vuk just like it was a very appropriate laugh with like the oh man, yeah, this is perfect. And afterwards he was like, the whole movie has been about him. It is just incredible for an actor without dialogue in that scene to immediately confirm everything you've ever heard about him up to that point.
Well said. Love that.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like you see him whenever Joseph Cotton's whenever Holly is like Harry, and it zooms in and you get that smile. You're like, oh my gosh, yes, this is the best friend who's made life more fun. This is the guy that women fall in love with. This is like that. This is everything everybody's ever said about this guy. He looks so in control of the situation too. Like he was hiding, but he's almost like happy about being found out, or is like, huh, you got me. Like it's just, it's so good. And we talked last week about Audrey Hepburn being this kind of like generational, kind of raw, like just raw, charismatic kind of like you can't teach this kind of thing. And I think Orson Welles has that of like he's on the screen and my eyes are like glued to him. He's just making immediately you're like, oh yeah, this is like a movie star. Like this is a guy that when people say, oh, the camera loves him, they're talking about Orson Welles right now. And he's the kind of actor that I think just takes the script and brings so much like extra personality and choice and like idiosyncrasies to it that just makes it all great. That going back to that Ferris wheel scene, there's so many weird, like just his heartburn, he's just kind of pausing to like bang on his chest the whole time. It's like, oh, I wish he could have brought these anyways, blah blah blah. The way he like delivers so much of that dialogue where Holly's like, you used to believe in God, and he's like, oh, I still do believe in God, old man. I believe in God and mercy and all that, but the dead are happier dead. Like every way he chooses to deliver the line is so great. And there's a moment in it where I'm like, golly, this is an actor. Like this guy's incredible. Where he opens the door and they're looking out and Holly starts to get nervous. And I love the shot where Holly just grabs hold of the door. Like he's like, you're not pushing me out of this. And he kind of finally starts to kind of come and say it out loud where he's like, fall like this, or like, I suppose standing right here would make it pretty easy for you. And he's like, pretty easy. Nobody look for a bullet hole after that. Like they're finally starting to be open about the threat, the danger Holly's in. And Holly says, we dug up the body. And Orson Welles, like Harry just starts to look, he kind of gets more wide-eyed and he's like, and found Harbin. And he's like, yes. He looks to the side, like he's just all of a sudden, it's like whenever you miss your turn and maps is like rerouting. It's like okay, hold up. And then he looks back at him and he kind of smiles again and he closes the door and he's like, look at us talking like this as if I would do anything to you or you to me. Like he's I love that line that like as all of a sudden new plan, super buddy again, but just watching like the internal plans change on his face whenever he's like, okay, so update, this has happened. Look at us like this. Just that being able to see an actor exists so fully as a character that it's like they're thinking like the character. Like you can see that's not Orson Welles acting, that's Orson Welles thinking Harry's thoughts, and I can see it on his face. It's so good.
Well said. I love all that.
Well said.
Oh,
Oh my god.
also, the last thing about that scene, I do want to shout out. I think the final exchange in that scene is incredible. Whenever Harry's like, "Don't be gloomy. After all, it's not all that awful." Like the fella said, in Italy for 30 years under the bourgeois, they had warfare, terror, murder, and bloodshed, but they produced Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and the Renaissance. In Switzerland, they had brotherly love. They had 500 years of democracy and peace. And what did that produce? The Cuckoo Club. That delivery is so funny to me. I'm like, dang it! Even after finding out that this is just a heinous, inhumane, moral monster, dang it, he's still so charming.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great line. We should have dug deeper than the grave.
Oh, that's another great line. So many great, just like.
Oh, there really are.
Absolute cinema. Absolute cinema.
Also, that shot leading as Holly is walking up to the Ferris wheel of the Ferris, the camera's basically on the ground, shooting all the way up.
Yeah,
the Ferris wheel looks like it's like 5,000 feet tall.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
It's such a great shot.
Yeah,
so many great shots in this film. Another one with the spiral staircase. And then there's a lot of Dutch angles in this too, which is great because it's
love the Dutch angles.
There's almost no non-Dutch angle shots.
Yeah, but it looks incredible.
To the point where when it's not a Dutch angle, it's like, wait, is something wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
What should I be noticing about this shot?
Yeah, you're telling me something.
Something.
There's
here.
something going on. Any other things that kind of stuck out to y'all, or things that y'all wanted to bring up?
I'm trying to think. I feel like I've gotten most of my thoughts out. I don't know if there's anything that I'm missing that I'm remember. I'm sure I'd have more if I had a second watch, but alas.
Well, it's a great rewatch. I think that's something that works in the movie's favor, is even though I really do think there are all these like heavy themes and like it's a very morally serious movie, it is so watchable. Like it is such a fun rewatch, and every rewatch I have the sense of like, oh, it's about to be that part. Oh, we're almost to that part. Oh, it's this line.
Yeah, honestly, I just want to watch the sewer chase again, like right now. Like I just want to watch it like over and over.
And even when you get to the end, with it being, like a sad ending, it still just feels so rewatchable. It still is such a fun movie, despite you knowing where it's going to end up in the end. So yeah, like it's a testament to how well this movie balances everything, and also a statement on rewatching movies and why you should do it. But as far as me, for like final thoughts, I think we've touched on a lot, if not all of the like main things that I really wanted to talk about. And I'm the same with Michael. If I had seen this film like one or maybe two other times, I would be like, there's probably like all these other things that I hadn't picked up on yet. But just overall, I think this is a wonderful film, and I'm gonna be rewatching it more frequently, because I cannot imagine being in a world where this like doesn't get into my top 10.
That's so good.
Dang, top 10. Shoot.
For sure.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I pretty much echo all of that. I think this movie was fantastic. I genuinely cannot wait to rewatch it. I don't know if it'll get all the way up into my top 10, but we'll let that be decided when
We
I
got
get some
50 in our
rewatches.
top 10. You know, it's okay.
Exactly. It'll definitely make my top 50, top 10. Uh, but I seriously, this is definitely a movie that I will be rewatching for sure. And I loved it. This is what a fun year for me. I'm watching, like, I've got like Rear Window, I got Vertigo, I got Breakfast at Tiffany's, I got Touch of Evil, like so many awesome old movies under my
Was
belt.
Casablanca this year?
Casablanca, yep.
Mhm.
Oh man, yeah, just like I need to add some movies onto my Letterboxd. I started just a top 50 list. I don't even think it's public yet because it's like it's not ready for people to see because it's not right yet. But I don't have any of those on there, and they're gonna be on there. So like, that I'm in the I need to start adjusting some stuff on there and throwing some of these classics that I've finally seen. It's gonna feel good.
Yes, sir.
No. Yeah, I'm super. I feel like Vuk did last week. Of like, I love it when people love movies I love. It's just a
good
good feeling. So yeah, I'm super psyched that we were able to cover this and talk about it. Like, yeah, like I said, it's a movie I love rewatching. I got to see it on the big screen last year, and that was like one of the most incredible in 35 millimeter. It was like one of the most
lucky,
incredible Texas theater. Shout out. It was one of the most incredible experiences ever to just be able to see it like that. So yeah, it's amazing. I love it. I'm sure that I definitely won't make it through next year without rewatching it. So just excited to keep it on the rotation constantly.
Heck yeah.
Drewby, I'm going to throw it back over to you because I'm going blank on how everything goes from this point on.
I did the same thing, dude.
All right, well, back to me, the real host.
No, I'll accept that.
I thought you did great, James.
Drewby's the real host, though. Let's be honest.
No, we're all the real hosts. The real host is actually a film directed by Bong Joon-ho.
No, the real host is the friends we made along the way.
Exactly. That's what I thought you were going to say.
That's a good movie, though.
It is. But this was also a great movie. So before we close everything out, we should go ahead and give our ratings for the film.
Oh, so, right.
Michael, we'll start out with you because this was your first time watching it.
5 stars. I think I told both of you. I couldn't really think of anything wrong with this movie. I could watch it again and again, and maybe I'll find something, but there's literally nothing I can think of that I didn't appreciate about this movie. And every time there was something where I was like, oh no, I hope they don't do this. They didn't do it. They did the right thing. And so it's just perfect. This is one of those movies that it finishes on that all-timer shot, and you're just like, yeah, that was perfect. I got nothing. So yeah, 5 stars, easy.
Heck yeah. James, what about you?
This movie has like 6 logs of 5 stars from me. So yeah,
I thought you were gonna say 6 stars.
Oh, I would if I could. But yeah, this is an easy one. This is, like I said, permanent fixture of top 10. I could just watch this and rewatch it.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with both of y'all. It's a 5 star. I don't trust people who don't have it at 5 stars, and we know some people who don't have it at 5 stars, so I can't trust them. But yeah, I mean, this really is, lightning in a bottle. You don't get these kind of films every day, but it really genuinely is perfect. It absolutely deserves, not just earns, but deserves the 5 star rating. It's one of the most iconic films of all time for so many reasons. And even today, like, there's so many filmmakers who are still being influenced and inspired by it. So
I said it in the chat, but it was one of my favorite things to find out about it, because I'd watched the first season of Better Call Saul before I had like watched The Third Man. And then after I became obsessive over The Third Man, I rewatched the first season of Better Call Saul. And there's a scene in season 1 where they just start doing the da 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 da, and I'm like, what? And so I looked into it. And yeah, there's an interview of Vince Gilligan being like, well, The Third Man is my favorite film of all time. And I've paid for all of the tours that took me over all the locations in Vienna of where they shot all the different scenes. And well, like he is a Third Man super fan. And I'm like, oh gosh, the fact that this is from Vince Gilligan just makes me so happy.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
There's a reason why this film is so iconic. And it was super fun to be able to chat about it. So speaking of chatting about things, go join our Facebook group, Banter, Fodder, Film and Discussion, a film and television discussion group. You can check that in the link below in the link tree. And then also be sure to give us a like and subscribe on the YouTube channel if you're listening on the podcast feed. And if you're on the YouTube feed, if you want to go back to these episodes, obviously you can check them on YouTube, but you can also listen to them on Spotify and Apple. Give us the 5 stars and also leave a review on Apple. But coming up next, we're going to have my pick.
Yeah.
Because Michael still
give me another week. Give me another week to decide what the heck I'm going to pick.
Yeah. But coming up next, we've got my pick, which is Magnolia. And I am so thrilled to finally do this because we tried it once before, maybe last year. I can't remember, but we did try to do a review on it and things just didn't pan out, but it's finally happening and I'm so pumped. So that's what's coming up next week. And then also once we get Michael's pick locked in, after that in September, we're thinking about possibly doing a month of Westerns. So stay tuned. Follow us on all the things in the link tree. Until next time, go support your local theaters. Watch Freakier Friday because it's out in theaters now. Watch Shin Godzilla if it's still in theaters. And see the movie that nobody is seeing, Nobody 2. Support those local theaters, buy concessions, and we will see y'all next time.